I think the story actually starts, and the clue's in the name. We all are hearing about this BLC1. Well, let me just break that down. And this is really how it started for me. BL is breakthrough listen, but C1 is the clue. It's candidate number one. And these candidates predate this new organization called Breakthrough Listen. So there were a number of likely or interesting SETI found exoplanet sites that had characteristics possibly, and this was they didn't know, for extraterrestrial technological signals. This is something like the buzz of a planet, or maybe it's a laser beam, or maybe it's a beacon, big alien radar. I mean, they're aliens, they're doing something different, but these candidates were given were found by SETI, and along comes Yuri Milner and a lot of money and starts Breakthrough Listen. And logically, why not go for a number? And there's at least five that I know about, but I've also heard the number 15. But let's just say there's five predetermined candidates. And the first one so Yuri and Breakthrough Listen throw money at buying telescope time. SETI is a non-funded organization and has no American taxpayer money. And the only instruments they have are really national instruments like Green Bank, or if it's in the Southern Hemisphere, things like Parkes. SETI very kindly were given the Paul Allen array in the northwest of the US. But this first candidate was in this only visible pretty well in the southern hemisphere. It'd be very low in the northern hemisphere. So they used the Parkes telescope. So that you need to know that, and that's what a lot of people are ignoring. They then, because it was already found as a potential technological candidate, they looked at it, and lo and behold, they found that when they pointed their dish at it, it was there, and when they pointed away, it went away. So it was a single point source. It was narrowband electromagnetic spectrum, but it was incredibly low level. But it was also quite close. It's only 4 light years away. So the signal from this planet buzz could be possibly found, given enough expensive telescope time, which Breakthrough Listen decided to pour into it. And they found a signal. And that's the amazing thing. But it was incredibly low level. And when they ran it through their algorithms to check it, they can't confirm it is the buzz of a technological alien civilization. It could be human interference. And that's what their peer-reviewed paper in 2020-2021, as you correctly said, actually said. And I knew that. I've always known that. But
Yeah.
what's the new bit of information, Simon?
Yeah.
Well, the new bit of information is that they reanalyzed it and they found that the signal had this Doppler shift. That means it's coming from somewhere that's moving. Well, Joanne's microwave oven next to the Parkes telescope doesn't produce a Doppler shift signal, and all the human kind of interference. Now it could be a moving human-based satellite, so that's possible, but it's starting to becoming a bit weirder. So this Doppler shift, and what the Doppler shift showed was the single point. It's an exoplanet. It has a narrowband electromagnetic spectrum, but it's either or both rotating or orbiting. That means the signal is going up and down in frequency. And that makes it very interesting. There is still a possibility that this first candidate is actually quite a poor candidate. And they've gone on, Breakthrough Listen have gone on to pour money and telescope time all over the world, Green Bank in the Northern Hemisphere and Parkes in the Southern Hemisphere. And now they're using things like the square kilometer array. And they've even got an association I didn't know, but I've just discovered this week with FAST, which is the Chinese telescope. I mean, they're buying time on it, I suppose. They don't talk to me anymore, but yeah. but the Doppler shift is what I heard was the extra piece of information. So I interviewed Dr. Andrew Simeon, who's the principal investigator for Breakthrough Listen. And he absolutely confirmed that the 2020 report said we can't confirm it's ET. But I said, well, what about this Doppler shit? He went, oh, yeah, Doppler. Yeah, he said, but we're still interested in it. And that's really the story. But that's the story that was ended in 2021 when they wrote this paper, which of course I read. I mean, it's perfectly a good paper. And a lot of people have been closing the door on their social media reports at the end of the report. Since then, since 2020, 2021, when their review said we can't really confirm if it's there, but it's a good signal, but we don't know what it is, and it's probably interference, better stuff has gone on. And that's really where I got involved. I'd never even heard of BLC1. Somehow it passed me by back in 2019. And it was somebody only last year who said, did you know that BLC1 and other candidates now are being studied by European organizations, and it's quite likely that they'll find either the buzz of a planet, a technological signature, or maybe using the James Webb Space Telescope, which is post, the report that people are quoting, like ad infinitum. Now we have the James Webb Space Telescope that can find technological signatures from light. For example, on our planet, Earth, we make chemicals which are man-made. They don't occur naturally in the rocks or the organic stuff on our planet. That would be a technical signature that can be studied from their atmosphere. And James Webb's looking at exoplanet technological signatures. They're also looking for very exotic stuff that I'd like to tell you about, which I've only just heard about this week, which is quantum communication, which is really fascinating and could be a real breakthrough. But let's not completely dismiss BLC1. It was a good start. A lot of money was thrown at it, but there's probably better candidates. And the report confirms it's a good signal, but they didn't confirm that it was 100% alien.
Yeah.
Got it?
So okay. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for explaining that. I cannot wait to get into this other part about the communication. So, at this point, this signal, you're still hearing from your sources that is the story still that there is more to this signal and they're just trying to peer review it before they make this announcement? Is that still?
Well, I think big reveal on Vetted right here, right now, is that there is one thing which I have learned that I think is actually quite disappointing, and I feel a bit let down by my source about BLC1. And it's something which I've been really, in this last week of being harangued by everybody, nailing this European radio astronomer administrator right down. And he wants to go, oh, there's other candidates. I said, yeah, but BLC1 is what people wrote about in the press. And, I'm on the line about this. The big question that I've got, which I'm not getting a straight answer about, is, was it a temporary signal? Or if it was a buzz, Patrick, imagine you were on the moon and you had a transistor radio, the buzz of Earth would be there 100 years ago and there today. Our Wi-Fi, our air traffic control, our radar, our radio is not going to disappear. So I would have expected that the buzz from a technological signature would be omnipresent. It was there obviously before Breakthrough Listen knew about it because SETI had found it, and but I'm not 100% sure whether it's always there, and nobody's telling me that. Some people are saying that it was only a short signal and it's gone. Well, if it's gone, then it's not a buzz from a technologically advanced planet. It was a temporary signal, and that's not really of great interest. I mean, it could be solar flares, it could be a lot of things natural. Let me just say something about how I work. I mean, I am not I don't have a Bible. I don't believe science changes when things come about. If there's better and new data, which is genuinely better and not just a stupid criticism of approach, but actually good data, I'll definitely change, as all scientists will change as new facts come to light. So I would definitely want to know from you, if anybody's listening who's an astrophysicist, which is good, I'm sure they are. Was it just a short signal, or was it, is it still there today? If you turn Parkes to it today, would you hear it? I don't know.
That's a great question. I mean, honestly, that's a great question.
Yeah. It
absolutely.
is. I've been, as I said, I've been really, this contact of mine who's super, super qualified and is brilliant. And I think in this new film that I'm going to make, I'm actually going to, people are getting a bit peed off with me not saying who it is. I can't really name him, but I'm actually going to be much more open about how he and I talk, and I might even play an audio. He sends me voice messages because he doesn't like email,
Sure.
and he's happy that I choose a small bit of voice. So because people are confused about, is he AI? Is he real? Which he is very real and a very senior person.
Do you think that this guy, this clearly has to be a question you've either thought about yourself or someone has asked you, right? Do you think that this guy is feeding you some sort of misinformation or trying to deceive you in any way?
I really asked him that. I mean, obviously, I needed to know that. No, I know who he is. I know his name. I have his CV. So he's a genuine person working in radio, a senior person working in the administration of radio telescope and astronomy in Europe.
Yeah.
He's also a very, very smart engineer in radio telecommunication. So he understands how antennas and signals, and he's very, very interesting in quantum stuff. So he checks out. I suppose he could be completely mad, but I really don't think so. I often ask him for references, and so he emails me, or he tells me, which is a bit annoying, URLs, and because he likes to talk on the phone, and I check them out, and all the stuff he's talked about what's currently going on in Europe, only he would know. I mean, I hadn't heard of this networking of radio telescopes done by a company in Holland called Astron, and I contacted Astron. That's what they do. I mean, I think he's definitely a real person, and I don't really. Good question. I actually asked him. I said, "So why me? Why aren't you going on CNN? Why aren't you appearing with telling Ross Coulthard on News Nation? Why slightly bigger? Why did he?" And he says he just liked me. He had known work that I'd done in the past, and he thought that I would be a good person to explore these things. Of course, the story blew up into an amazing media thing.
Sure.
I mean, the newspaper articles specifically were very, very generalization and sensational, and misquoted me badly. And one of the things, but the journalist was good who interviewed me. What happened, Patrick, is it was written by a freelance journalist as a science correspondent for the Daily Mirror, and it was published there first, and then it went to a news agency, and other newspapers embellished the story from the basis of what was published in the Mirror, which is normal. But they didn't ever. Nobody else came back and interviewed me or checked. I got called a NASA scientist, like, bollocks.
I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, I did a film for NASA once. I made
Sure.
5 films, and
Sure.
obviously the whole professor bollocks is so annoying, and
Hanging on. Yeah, totally.
yeah, it's just crazy. So no, it's been quite a week.
Oh, I can't even imagine. And look, I am going to play one clip from, before we went live. I told you I had this clip of Dr. Becky lined up here that I wanted to play for you. But before that, real quick, I did have one question about this source. So he is the source that told you, hey, there's more to this BLC-1 candidate. We think it's alien, and we're going to make an announcement soon, but we just have to cross our T's and dot our I's.
Something like that. He got me intrigued in the whole history of SETI searches and these multiple candidates. He knew about Breakthrough Listen and how they were buying telescope time, and he said that the first signal that they've looked at is the first candidate, BLC-1, and it was a good example. But there's other candidates as well.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Got it. So it could be one of these other candidates. It's actually the one. If I don't know what to call it, the one. I mean,
I think there's more than one, Patrick. I mean, my impression is that we are in a new era.
Okay.
We are.
Okay.
I think in our short lifetime, I mean, I remember back in the early 2000s, exoplanets were new. I mean, there was only half a dozen
Sure.
around. Now every star in our galaxy has multiple other planets in orbit around them, when some of them in very, very, very prime positions. And now we have tools to not only listen to that planet very pinpointedly, but now with James Webb, we can do spectral analysis of the light reflected off their atmosphere. So there's, if there is anything out there, and I think the biosignature from Cambridge, and this isn't necessarily a technological race, but it's a signature from a planet that seems to have something breathing, something alive in it. It is going to be very exciting. I think the technological signatures are a bit harder, actually. If you think about it, we've only had radio. Well, this leads me on to what I'm going to talk about, quantum. But we've only had radio for maybe a couple of 100 years, and it keeps changing. I mean, look at the phone networks we've had.
Sure.
We're up to G5 now, and the old ones, the G3s, are being closed down. It's moving very fast. But if you think about it, it's only 200 years of Earth history that's using electromagnetic radio frequencies. Before that, we used pigeons. No, I'm joking. Or a semaphore. and so in the future, I think already. I mean, I'm talking to you in a really, really rural, tiny village in southwest France, and this internet connection that I've got is fiber optic. It's not electromagnetic. It's light going down a fiber optic cable, and that's 2024. So totally. Aliens, if they're anything like us or any advanced technology, are going to move away from electromagnetic spectrum because of its speed limitations.
Sure.
Not quantum, probably quite fast. So I think there's
it would be a small window of time to catch them in that moment.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I'm a private pilot, and it's in the years that I started flying in the 1980s right until today, I've seen things like LORAN go away. I've seen marker beacons go away. I've seen ILS approaches to airports go away, and now it's all GPS.
Got
You
it.
know,
I
and
see.
in a few years, we will. Technology moves very fast, and there's no
Sure.
reason to think that aliens. So, yeah, we need to look
That's a great point.
in all different ways: biological, maybe electromagnetic, but also in other more exotic forms of communication, which I think is happening today.
Yes, and I definitely want to get into that.
Good.
All right, first, let me play. Oh, yeah, that's so exciting to me. Let me play this clip from Dr. Becky, get you to respond, and we'll kind of tie
Okay.
up the BLC one so we can move on to
Good.
this new communication, which I cannot wait to talk about. All
Okay.
right, let's see here. I've got it. I've got it set up. Just a few minutes. I mean, I think you've seen it already, so no preparation here for the audience.
Right.
All right, I think. Oh, there we go.
It is time to take out the trash, because this month there was yet another fake claim that a big announcement of the discovery of intelligent alien life is imminent from astronomers. And just to be clear, there's not. And I got so mad. Maybe it's just because this is the tip of the iceberg of so many fake discovery claims that circle the internet, especially when it comes to JWST for some reason, which are all absolute, as the Americans say, trash. And this week, I have reached my limit, and I'm going to take it all out on BLC1, Breakthrough Listen Candidate 1.
Trash. Come on, that's a little harsh, Becky, don't you think?
Oh my God, Becky.
A documentary filmmaker claims to have spoken to someone at the University of Oxford who has links with the Breakthrough Listen project, who, yes, are hunting for signs of intelligent alien life in radio astronomy data. And he's claimed that announcement from Breakthrough and the University of Oxford about BLC1 is imminent. I'm an astrophysicist at Oxford, and I can tell you that me and my colleagues all laughed so hard at this news report. I mean, I did make sure to email my colleague, Dr. Steve Croft, who's the project scientist for the Breakthrough Listen project, and just double check. BLC1, you definitely concluded that was radio interference, didn't you? And he was like, yes, we did.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So first, let me just say, trash. That's completely unnecessary and so over the line. I can't.
She
can't
didn't
even
email
explain.
me. I mean, yeah. Becky, if I'd interviewed you about something that you'd done, and I might have thought, I'm not sure this is right, I would have checked with you. I would have been very respectful for your views, and actually maybe even watched my films rather than just read the newspaper, which was very short pricey on it. And then she actually does quite a good explanation of what they actually found. She actually deep dived into the BLC1 signal, and she actually did do. When you turn the telescope, it goes. When you look at it, it's there. It's narrowband, and she actually also talked about the Doppler shift. Yeah, they're all things that make that candidate interesting. And the only conclusion of their paper was we can't really confirm it. It's so low level that it's not good enough to go and shout from the rooftops. And that's maybe the bigger issue about not saying what you found, because there's maybe a release date for this type of confirmation, and I just found it very disrespectful. You don't need she didn't need to be that rude, and I think it's not very brave of these channels, like Becky's probably number one, but also Sabina and John and what's his name?
John Michael Gaudier.
John Michael Gaudier. I mean, they're all what they're doing is they're putting themselves up as science. And yeah, sure, I'd like science, but what they're actually doing is reading science magazines and just doing peer-reviewed paper science. I read science magazines, but I like to push the boundaries a bit and ask bigger questions. They're playing very safe. I mean, the whole of Becky and Sabina's and John's films ended in 2020. Well, guys, we're in 2024, and the amount of money and new telescopes and how the search has continued has gone on. And they just wanted to close it down when the signal was not confirmed. Well, okay. My story is what happened next.
Yeah. So what is the, to wrap this up here, what is the final conclusion? Is there more to come with BLC-1? Is that done? Are we moving on to other candidates? Is there a signal?
I don't know about BLC-1. I think in some ways it could still be of interest, but I think there's better candidates. And I think the big issue that I've explored in a film that I did this week is SETI and SETI-type organizations seem to want to have a very controlled release of information. They don't want me or people in the media going, we found alien signals. They want to control it because the classic thing that I get and they got when I say it's looking like we found an alien technological signal in BLC-1 is that everybody asks, what are they saying? What's their music like? All kind of stupid questions. And in fact, what they want, what SETI have got a policy, and I discovered it. I actually exposed that they have a written law book of how to do a disclosure policy.
Yeah.
And their policy is, we don't do what I did. They don't like that.
Yeah.
They want to they want to have all their answers, but they also want to prime the public and government and religious organizations that that the research is continuing, interesting research is continuing, but they really want their ducks in a row. That's what SETI's policy is. And I think that's probably, Breakthrough Listen isn't SETI, and I think Breakthrough Listen are actually braver. I think they've also got the kind of timeline of financing that they probably want to be the people to come up with a big disclosure. But so does China. So I don't know. The bottom line, Patrick, is that BLC-1 was found years ago. It's a genuine signal. Breakthrough Listen saw it and heard it as a genuine signal. It has very strange characteristics which can't be confirmed. But the search has continued, and other things have been found. And the best published other thing is the biological signature from an exoplanet that was seen analyzed by a group in Cambridge in England, and that was specifically mentioned.
K2b or something like that.
Yeah, I've hardly looked at it, but that was part of the paper that was released to the current British government. That's one of the possibilities that we are going to, in the near future, maybe when they want to. I think that's another issue. Say that there's good evidence of some kind of life out there other than on planet Earth, and I think that's my kind of slightly complicated answer to your question.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.